Chelsea Supporters Trust say that fans have significant concerns about the club's future. They've written a lengthy letter to co-owners Todd Boehly and Behdad Eghbali. We're now joined by the Vice-Chairman of the Trust, Dominic Rosso. Hello, Dominic. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Now, in your letter to the board, you say that the feeling among the fans is at its lowest since the early 1980s, and the quote is that it's close to irreversible toxicity. Can you just explain what you mean by that?
I think it's a mixture of lots of different items. Some people may expect the mood to be low with the current lack of form on the pitch, which I think we can all accept is one of the worst seasons, maybe only to be beaten last year. And that's probably made worse when you look at the sheer amount of money that's been invested within the playing squad. But I think the issue that a lot of supporters that we speak to and come and talk to me is just the lack of vision that's being shared, the lack of communication, the lack of understanding, and the real lack of trust between the board and the fans. I think some may have looked at our letter and just looked at the top line, but what we really were saying within our letter, and we've always tried to be positive with the club, whilst we reserve the right to criticise. We've actually worked closely with the club, and a lot of the things that they do are really great. But the bottom line is that we're deeply worried about the situation. We don't like to see the club in this state. And we've said to them that they need to be more upfront and honest and transparent with fans. Chelsea fans are not stupid. They're aware that there are problems going on in the club, but come out, speak to the fans. They don't bite, and if they do, their bark's a lot bigger than their bite. But just be honest with them, and actually you'll find that people receive that well, and in the long term they will build much better relationship between them and the supporters.
Yeah, so off the back of all that, and as you say, one of the worst Chelsea seasons in recent memory, you've also mentioned in the open letter numerous price increases to tickets and travel since the takeover, which you claim has broken the owner's promise of putting the fans at the forefront. Have you got concerns that that will continue as a trend?
Yeah, when we first met with the owners, and the former president of business said openly to supporters that they were going to look to maximise commercial revenue before looking at how they can maximise revenue from match day. And we're really frustrated as a trust that this pledge has been broken. As you say, coach subsidy, which a lot of supporters really relied on, has been withdrawn entirely, so an entire reduction there. And it's small things like the cost of programmes, the cost of going to youth games, the cost of attending women's games, food, drink, shirts. And whilst these are small increases, they all have a huge impact on the pockets of loyal Chelsea fans. So yeah, I think the general feeling is that this will continue. And whilst we understand the club need to generate more revenue, it's frustrating. I think our message to the club, and that we've said privately and publicly, is any changes, significant changes, we'd warn against, and any changes that they make need to be done with real thought, real consultation, and actually take on board what the fans are saying. Because if this has got wrong, we can see that there'll be a huge reaction from the fan base, which even the Chelsea Supporters Trust won't be able to kind of help with or protect, because we feel that people are angry at the moment, and there's something is going to happen that's going to light the touch paper.
Yeah, like what does that mean? Light the touch paper. What
we
happen?
feel. So we've seen recently at the first of all the Wolves defeat, and more recently at the Brentford draw, a lot of anti-ownership chants, a lot of anger and frustration towards the owners. And we feel that there's obviously a real disconnection between the stands and the boardroom, and that if supporters continue to feel like customers, it's just going to get really, really toxic. And it's going to become toxic kind of regardless of what happens on the pitch, which I think is probably the most worrying thing. If you're winning, you would expect a positive reaction, but we feel, and what we're hearing is, regardless of what's happening on the pitch, regardless of how we're performing, it's going to continue to be negative. And so we're urging the club to listen, take heed, and actually take supporters on this journey of fan engagement, which when they first came in, they wanted to be trailblazers of fan engagement. The promises were that we're going to be at the forefront of fan engagement following the fan-led review, and we're going to do everything we can to make our supporters proud of our football club. Having spoken to a lot of people, I'm not quite sure we're anywhere near that at the moment. And so we've kind of offered them an olive branch of how they can achieve it. And we really hope that they can actually listen and take that on board.
Yeah, it's not just been anti-ownership chants, though, has it? There's been chants from some pockets of Chelsea fans against Pochettino as coach, some people chanting for Jose Mourinho, who's obviously managed you twice before very successfully, and some very anti-Raheem Sterling sentiment at the weekend as well. What's your view on all of that?
I think from the trust, we don't like seeing the club in the current state. We obviously want to be really successful both on and off the pitch. We constantly say that Chelsea Football Club belongs to the fans, but it's more than a football club. It's a community asset, which means so much to so many different people, from people who are local, people across the country, and people across the world. And we love the fact that it's a real community and a family amongst supporters. It's really difficult to kind of hear the negativity that's going on at the moment. We don't think it helps, and we really want to get through this really.
You've sort of dodged
period.
the question though. Would you condemn the booing of any Chelsea player by Chelsea's fans?
I personally didn't boo any players.
No, but you are a representative of the
do.
Supporters Trust, and there was more than just a few people that were booing Raheem Sterling, who didn't have his best game and missed a penalty at the weekend. Would you, as a Supporters Trust, condemn that booing?
The supporters are able to express themselves in any way as possible, and I don't think it's a Supporters Trust role to tell people how they can and can't support their players. But I think the booing on Sunday, not just towards any players, but towards the ownership, is testaments to how the feeling is amongst the support base at the moment. And I really hope we can come out of this really difficult period and allow there to be bluer skies ahead.
Yeah, I hope so too. Now, you have received a reply to your open letter from the Chelsea chief executive. What did you make of his response?
I think we appreciate the response from Chris Jurasek, the Chelsea chief executive. In our opinion, it didn't really address the issues that we raised. We are asking the club to open up to a wider group of fans in order to reassure and explain what is happening at this really difficult stage. There are serious supporter concerns about the direction of which the club is going, and there is a huge disconnection, as we've just touched upon, between the boardroom, the dressing room, and the stands. And we would really urge them to come out and address that. Within our letter and within the response from Chris Jurasek, we weren't questioning the existing supporter mechanisms, including the Fan Advisory Board, the club's relationship with the Supporters Trust, the Fans Forum. We were focusing more on a wider base of communication. We're really fortunate, and we're in a position where we can speak to club directors and executives on a regular basis. However, the club need to understand that whilst, yes, you can speak to the Supporters Trust on a regular basis, you need to actually open up and speak to the wider fan base. You look at what Jim Ratcliffe's done in the last month or so. I think I've seen more interviews with him in the last month than I have seen with the new owners in the last 2 years. Even Tottenham Hotspur's chairman Daniel Levy was able to be in a room with a few hundred Tottenham fans. And if Daniel Levy can get in a room with a few hundred Tottenham fans, I'm sure the Chelsea owners or the Chelsea executive leadership should be able to do the same. We work really closely with Danny Finkelstein, and Danny obviously sat on Tracy Crouch's board and contributed significantly to the fan-led review a few years ago. Danny gets fan engagement, and what we're really hoping is that others at Chelsea Football Club can come on this journey and really take fan engagement by the scruff of its neck and take us to the next level, because I think now's the real moment that they need to stand up and be accountable.
Yeah, one other quote I pull out of your open letter was that the club risk becoming a laughing stock. Now, I accept 11 wins from 27 league games, 11th in the table is not ideal, but you did reach the League Cup final, and you could still end the season with the FA Cup trophy. Laughing stock seems a bit much.
Yeah, within our letter, we said that's the feeling which is starting to become apparent amongst Chelsea fans. That's the feedback that we received from our members. We're a membership-based organisation. We simply act on the views that are very regularly submitted by our members. I don't think it was specifically targeted solely at the playing side of it, but it also focused on kind of the operation of the club as a whole. I think that I would hope that people don't get drawn up on that specifically. I think this is a moment for fan engagement at the club and communication at the club to really improve, and we really hope that the club can listen to not just the trust but the views of supporters. If you look at social media and the views of supporters today, people are very much frustrated and totally agreeing with the Chelsea supporters trust, and we really hope that the club can see that and actually realise now maybe is a time for a change.